Joining us now, former Vancouver Canuck TSN hockey analyst, the one and only Mr. Frank Corrado. How are you?
What's up, boys? I'm pretty good. Can I give a little shout out quickly?
Sure.
Please.
And Farhan, like that, those are big shoes to fill. I thought Harman Dial did such a good job with us on July 1st. Shout out to him. He's a young up and coming star. Great job, Harman.
We had him on the show yesterday. We praised him just as effusively, and right you are. I mean, and here's the other thing. Harm's been in the business now like 5 years. He's early 20s. We used to call him boy genius. Now he's man genius. So you're quite right.
I was going to quiz Frank on that. That was a Botchfordism. He called him boy genius. And
is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Botch had great nicknames.
He did.
He had a knack for that.
He did. I was boat captain. This is Baby Dragon.
Yeah.
Baby Dragon. Do I want to know? Do I even want to know?
He thought I was ferociously defending my Kalisa, which was Alain Vigneault. He thought Game of Thrones reference.
I thought of him when I finally got a subscription to The Athletic. I said I truly am a VIP now.
That's right.
Canucks, they get any VIPs this week? What did you make of their work in free agency, Frank?
I was a fan of what they did. And I think in years past, under different control, with that much cap space, that would have been dangerous. They would have just spent for the sake of just spending, and just there you wouldn't see a lot of the purpose behind what they were doing. It might just be a big splash or a big name, and maybe just something to kind of get the hype train rolling. And I was thinking about this while we're sitting there in the studio on July 1st. And let's say you went out and got Gensel and you spent $9 million to do so. Fine, no problem. Like, I think that he's a really good player. He would have been productive here no matter what. And let's say you locked up Zadorov. You spent $14 million on two players. We'll see what Zadorov is on a $5 million contract, but I wouldn't have had an issue with that. Now, I think there was some purpose behind what they did here. And so that $14 million, instead of spending that on two players, you still got a good winger who can, even elevate his game even more in DeBrusk to potentially play with EP. You bring in Danton Heinen at, is it $2.5 million, something around there. He's a good winger. He can play in your middle six and give you some offense, and he can skate. He can play Tocchet style. And then on the back end, you go and get two trees, right? You get Forbort for 1.5. You bring in Desharnais for $2 million, and all that combined is $11.5 million. So you still, like, I thought they spent their money with some purpose. And correct me if I'm wrong on the math. That was never my strong suit, but I think there was some purpose in what they did, and you can see the logic behind it. And now, it's up to everyone to hold up their end of the bargain as far as the players go. But it's a pretty good day. That's a pretty good day for them.
Yeah, they got DeBrusk, Heinen, and Sherwood for what it would have cost to get Gensel.
Right.
So that's how the math works. It's Heinen at 2.25 even, Frankie. He took a bit of a discount.
And he's got high teens goals in two of his last 3 seasons. I mean, the Canucks kind of used the Dakota Joshua success story as a template for what they wanted to do. I think, throughout the lineup, but certainly on the forward lines. There is more upside in Heinen, I think. Could Heinen score 20, 21 goals this season? Would you be blown away? And could DeBrusk score 30, 31 goals? Would you be blown away?
I would not be blown away if he got 20 goals. Put in the right situation. Like, there's some skill there. Pretty crafty player, good wheels. So no, that wouldn't blow me away. And even with DeBrusk, like, that's a scoring winger who kind of needs to. I hate using this term because it's so generic. Like, he needs to be a driver. But you know what I mean? Like, he needs to be engaged physically. Like, he needs to be moving his feet. He needs to be, kind of bulldozing his way to the net. He needs to be someone who puts up some volume of shots, and especially in kind of in close and in grittier areas. Like, if he's doing all that, there's a very good chance he's eclipsing 30 goals. So I think they're smart moves. And the other thing, even leading up to July 1st, I think, we would have talked about it. A lot of people in that market would have talked about it. Tyler Myers at $3 million, right? Coming back. And if you saw some of the money that was thrown around at UFA defensemen yesterday or 2 days ago, Joel Edmondson signed for $3.8 million in LA. So you're telling me he's almost $1 million better than Tyler Myers? I don't buy that. So I think if you saw, the money that was thrown around on July 1st, I would feel better about the Tyler Myers $3 million deal.
Okay, let me ask you this, your area of expertise, but Hughes Hronek, Susie Myers, Forbort, Desharnais, or Juleson. Do they have enough puck movers back there, Frank? And if no, do they have to split Hughes and Hronek to make sure they have puck moving on a couple of those pairs?
So I'm not concerned about Susie moving the puck. I actually think he kind of flies under the radar in that regard. I think he's better than maybe people do give him credit for moving the puck. I don't know, but I think he's pretty good with it. And him and Myers seem to complement each other. The Forbort Desharnais pair, like anything, there might be times where you're hemmed in. There might be times where it's not going your way. But I think that's why, when Juleson kind of started playing better this year, what was the first thing that stood out? Like, his play with the puck was much better. So to be able to kind of slide him in if it's not going well for Desharnais, or vice versa with Forbort. But you know what? To your point, Matt, just under $8 million for Hronek. I don't think he can live under the safety blanket of playing with Quinn Hughes all season long, and that's okay. You pay someone that much money, they should be able to, put out some fires and be able to go kind of carry a deep pair. And this will be, the first test, I guess, under this new cap structure and player structure on the back end to see him do that. But as of right now, I'm probably starting the season how you kind of laid it out. It's Hughes Hronek, it's Susie Myers, and then it's Forbort Desharnais, and see how that kind of looks.
Would you go get a Barry or a Boqvist for $1 million and spell off Desharnais when you think you might just need to move the puck a little bit differently on any given night, and give Desharnais 48 games and the other guy 35, sort of thing?
Okay, so the Barry one is interesting because, local guy, right? Probably get him at a cheap cap hit, can move the puck, probably would like to play on a team that's going to be good at this point in his career. So yeah, there's validity to that for sure. But now Juleson becomes your 8th defenseman, Friedman becomes your 9th defenseman. You're sending him down. Like you need to have depth. I remember it was my last training camp in Vancouver, actually, and Dougie Lidster brought us all over. I think there were 10 defensemen still left at camp at that point, and I can't remember who had won the cup the year before. It might have been Pittsburgh, or it was, I can't remember, whoever won right before Pittsburgh. But he goes, it was 11 or 12 defensemen that year, and he goes, there's 10 of you here. So he goes, all of you guys are going to play NHL games at some point this year. So think about what you need as far as a stable of defensemen to be a team that goes deep like that. You probably do need to be, 9 to 10 of guys that are NHL caliber players. But I'm not convinced that, having someone like that is changing much for them. But, it's in theory, if you can make it work and you do have a little surplus money, it's probably not the worst thing to do.
That extra lob wedge in the bag if you need it. It's sort of the way.
Is it the 64-degree lob wedge? You see those guys?
It's the one that you can't hit it all, but it's there.
It's there. Yeah.
And then you sitting up in a fluffy lie, you might consider it, but that's about it.
Yeah. I was the 64-degree lob wedge for much of my career. It just kind of hung out in the bag, and you said, hey, look at it. I don't use it, but it's there.
We're not flop shot guys then, is what I'm hearing.
Oh, I would love to have that shot.
Oh, okay.
I just don't have that shot.
You can't do it with a 60-degree?
I've got a 60, and that one never comes out.
Oh,
yeah. Interesting. My 60 feels, I think it's incorrectly measured. Mine 60 feels like a 64 to me.
Ace doesn't have these problems.
Frank, it's Ace here.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Kiefer Sherwood.
Frank, it's Ace.
It's Ace. What do you think of Kiefer Sherwood?
Kiefer Sherwood is probably going to be, a depth scorer in this lineup. And I think that's fine. Like, I think there's a little muscle there. Like, he's, there's a little beef involved. And so I think that's, that's part of this team trying to have the philosophy that there can be scoring lower in the lineup, there can be scoring higher in the lineup. When offense kind of dried up, maybe that was the realization that we do need, a little more, kind of spread things out. Even though third line was playing well, you just need to find a goal sometimes, and maybe that's a guy that can do that. And it's like anything: put someone in the right spot, and there's a chance that they could produce for you.
Okay. Going to ask you a couple of poll questions here. The one we're running today and the one that we ran yesterday. On paper, the Canucks better today than they were at the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Okay. So if I'm looking at their lineup right now, I'm seeing Miller, Besser, and Höglander, Heinen, Pettersson, and DeBrusk. That Pius Suter is now a centerman, given the way everything kind of shakes out.
Mhm.
I would think they are a better team today. I think the fact that Pettersson now has two viable scoring options next to him, the way things are laid out, automatically makes this a better team. Pettersson's not going out there with McCabe and Lafferty, and like I said, like, no disrespect to those players, but this is different. This is, Jake DeBrusk is a good winger in the NHL that can score. Danton Heinen is a good middle six forward. I don't think the blue line, without Ian Cole, without Zadorov, I think those losses are minimized by the players they brought in, but they've gained much more in what they've added up front. So for those reasons, I will say they are a better team today than they were last season.
Okay. Biggest need: top 6 scoring winger, top 4 defenseman, third line center.
Because you did put Heinen in the top 6. He's not on a cup team. You probably not want Heinen in your top 6. In your
Do not lobby the.
I'm just explaining where we're going here.
Price?
No, it's fair. It's fair. It is fair.
Or either for that matter.
I like Teddy Bluger as the third line center because the line is so good. So I'm kind of like, I've romanticized that, but all things considered, Teddy Bluger is he's probably a fourth line center, but he's going to play on your third line. So that kind of, that solidifies that spot. So where do you go from here for your fourth line center? Is Pius Suter that guy? Well, yeah, sure, but he was pretty good on the wing. But I don't mind him playing in center ice. So as far as, what's the biggest need for this team? I think if you started the season like this, I would be pretty content. But I will just say, because of how the season finished last year, I'm probably still thinking like a top 6 type winger. Like I still think that's probably the biggest area of need, just based on the fact that you do have some versatility down the middle. And we're still talking, DeBrusk and Heinen with Pettersson, but you want to have some versatility on the wings. You don't maybe want to have someone just pigeonholed there, the whole time.
They're in no man's land on the cap. They don't have so much regular cap space that it's going to be compound interesting to the trade deadline, and they're all of a sudden going to be able to pick up a $5 million player. They've only got hundreds of thousands of space left, but then they're also not up against the cap to the point where they can use their LTIR. But they make an acquisition, then they can go into LTIR, of course, and get that. So they've sort of hinted, Frank, that they're keeping this flexibility open to make a mid-season acquisition. So the question is then just, where are they going to improve? And maybe they don't know. Maybe it's a tie in their own mind and they're going to start the season like this and see how it all plays out.
That's what I would do. I mean, now, remember last year when Patrick Kane was kind of deciding where he was going to go, and I think there was so much speculation, and, it was a good spot to be in for him, because you could kind of look at things from the outside and say, okay, I like this, I don't like that, like where do I fit well? He ends up signing in Detroit, but it's almost like, a team like the Canucks they have the comfort of doing that now, where the season's going to play. They're gonna win games. Like, they're gonna be a good team, and they can, kind of evaluate, where they need to kind of change things. Like last year, I don't know how you guys felt, but last year it felt like it was just hammering hammering the blue line with those bigger guys, and that was something they really felt like they had to address. It feels like that is addressed to a certain degree. Like all the big boys are there now, but maybe we do get into the point in the season where someone gets hurt, someone's not producing. So many things look good on paper, but maybe it does become, a forward or a winger. And then the other thing they're going to have going for them now is the fact that they are a good team and Vancouver's a great place to play, and it's an awesome city. You're going to have guys that are looking at it saying, I'm pretty curious. Like I would like to play there. Like I would like to experience that. And it's, it's a chance to win. So, who kind of falls into that category? I think there's going to be guys like Tarasenko, who's was with Florida, wanted to go there. I don't know. Like if you can find guys like that on cheaper cap hits.
Calgary. Mantha's got a 1-year deal. I mean, if Calgary wins 10 of its first 30 games, isn't Calgary immediately going to start trying to trade Anthony Mantha?
I would think so. That's in all these teams, like San Jose, I guess, signed guys with some term. But that's, if you're a Chicago, there's a good example. Like Chicago signed all these guys with like 1, 2, 3-year deals. I think the longest deal I saw them sign was a 4-year deal with Bertuzzi. Like that's a team that come trade deadline time, they've strategically signed all these guys to short-term deals so they can move on from a couple and recoup some assets. So there's going to be, we're going to have just like last year, the haves and the have-nots, and the have-nots will definitely be looking to acquire assets and move the players that they signed.
You mentioned Edmondson as a contract you didn't like. I think that's universal outside of the LA Kings front office. What's a contract you really liked from Monday? Who do you think, or a couple, if there's not one standout, but who do you think did well in terms of getting a player on a good AAV and at good term?
I mean, Sam Reinhart. Like the Florida Panthers got Sam Reinhart for under $9 million, like under $9 million.
I saw somebody being incredulous that Willie Nylander gets what he gets and then Reinhart gets what he gets. It's a couple of years difference in age, but only that. I mean, what's the difference between it's almost a $3 million difference.
That's the first question I think everyone starts to ask when they see that contract roll through. Okay, there's a few things. Just won a Stanley Cup with Florida, wanted to be in Florida. You get significant discount on the tax. You get the weather. You get to go to the practice rink in your golf cart, all that kind of stuff. So you take a little less.
He's building a home there, Frank. He's building a house, not just buying a house. There's that.
And here's something, ask yourself this. If Willie made it to July 1st, was there 11.5 out there for him elsewhere? I'm not convinced. I don't know. Right? Like it doesn't seem like teams were willing to go that high.
Maybe that's the Leafs premium, Frank, that the Leafs have to pay because they're Leaf players and we couldn't leave Leaf lands because of a contract dispute.
There was it was an insane amount of money that was thrown around. Like it really was something. Like we're sitting there on the floor of free agent frenzy, and the Nashville News basically took the whole studio by storm, right? And Stamkos thing was happening. We kind of saw that happen. And then all of a sudden it's March or so. And we're like, okay, this team is not messing around. They know they need to score goals and they're addressing that. And then Brady Shea comes through and it was like, you just hear murmurs, Nashville. It's like all of a sudden, we cater to the Canadian markets because we're in Canada. We had to talk about Nashville and what they're doing. So that was, we'll see how those deals age because those aren't exactly spring chickens and there's a lot of money there. And that's different than what they did last year, Matt. Like they signed O'Reilly at 4.5. That was their first line center. Then they signed Gus Nyquist to a brilliant deal, 2 years, 3.1. And he has the best statistical season of his career. So 2/3 of their first line was making a combined $7.6 million. And this year they said, yeah, we're opening up the piggy bank because we need to score goals. So that was definitely the most intriguing. But I thought getting Sam Reinhart under $9 million. Are you kidding me? That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Still have some questions about Nashville's center ice position and
yes, that's the question. Who's passing? Who's dishing? Like O'Reilly's going to have a good season again. He's also, an aging player, very good player. But, is he the dishing magician? Is Tommy Novak? Is he going to be able to facilitate that for Stamkos and Marchessault? And how about all those guys are right-handed shots? Forsberg, Stamkos, Marchessault, Evangelista. There's a lot of right-hand shots there. So yeah, I'm very, very intrigued by Nashville.
Let me ask you this. Give me the top 3 teams in the Pacific Division this season as we see it now.
Okay. I will say the Edmonton Oilers.
In order.
I'll say the Edmonton Oilers.
Yep.
Will be 1. We'll say the Vancouver Canucks will be 2. And then I'm a coin flip between LA and Vegas right now.
Wow. Flattering to LA.
Yeah. Flattering to the Canucks, I think. Put them ahead of Vegas.
I guess my point there is Vegas didn't have a very busy day, did they?
Oh.
Vegas felt like they're usually the star of a day like that because they have something crazy up their sleeve, and they were somewhat underwhelming.
They're already $4 million over the cap, though, so there was only so much they could do.
Yeah, there's only so much Vegas can do, and you know what? They're notorious for pulling something out of their hats, and I guess you run out of tricks at some point.
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't get Jacob Chikrin for like a fourth rounder and a B-level prospect. But hey,
there's Ben Hutton. Give us Chikrin.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Okay, so you take good care of our boys there in Toronto. The Brad Treliving loves him some ex-Canucks, huh?
Does he ever?
And Oliver Ekman-Larsson, this to the Markstrom, Toffoli, Tanev, and everybody else that 1 year in Calgary. So
yeah,
take care of our guys, sir.
We will. It'll be nice to see the Tan Man around the arena. He is first class, one of the best guys that you'll ever come across in the game. So,
you look good in that hair, by the way. You should grow the hair out like that.
Which, like Tanny's?
Yeah.
I'd have to lose a few teeth too.
That's right. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll talk to you in a week.
Do you have just before you go, do you have a Tan Man story from your days?
Specifically, he's just the best guy, and he's the most calm guy. It's crazy. Like on the ice and off the ice, he's so calm and everything. And you talk to him, and it's like there's no pulse there. And then he goes on the ice, and it's like there's no pulse, but he's also very intense at the same time. It's a very, very interesting, unbelievable guy. Honestly, one of the best people I've met in the game of hockey. So big congratulations to him on his new deal.
As are you, Frank, even if his new deal is CBA and cap circumvention. You have a great week. We'll catch up.
See you guys.
Bye. Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.